What is up, guys? Welcome to not the Friday live, but the Monday live. We actually haven't done a Monday live in quite some time. Hopefully, everything still works here on the interwebs within Ecamm Live, and I'm super pumped and excited, as I always am, to be here with you. So, whether you're watching this live on the replay, thanks for being here. So, you did not read that headline wrong. Canon and 8K video in the same sentence. So everybody's pretty surprised about this. So I wanted to do a quick live stream chat about that because this would be very disturbing in a good way to the market, because anytime the camera companies fight, we the consumers win. And so while 8K may be out of the stretch for a lot of our budgets, like because we think about the Panasonic S1H camera. Let me cut this space heater off. Shoot, it'd be chilly up in here. So you think about the Panasonic S1H camera, that is like a cinema level camera, if not a just blatantly pretty much a cinema level camera. But you think about those cameras or any of the higher end whatever brands and model numbers by anybody, you're looking at something in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000, and you're like, yeah, Diana, I said $500 as my budget. Why are we even talking about this? And that is because, like I said, when the brands get the fighting, we all win. And from that, we get the opportunity to have cameras like the Canon M50 go on steep discounts as they're trying to like deplete their stock for a lot of that stuff. And you may have seen that with like the Canon T6. I know it was the Canon T6, and then probably some of the T6i cameras, but it was the DSLR camera by Canon. And it's probably about 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. And people were like, oh man, should I get this camera? It's like stupid cheap. And it's just like, no, don't buy that camera. And I've talked about that even like on my Instagram. It's just like at this point, this day and age, do not buy a DSLR camera, not because they're terrible cameras for video, but they're terrible cameras when it comes to audio. And so it always sucks when it comes to audio, and it's just not worth it at this day and age. So we have Ms. LaurenCaroneofficial.com. That's not her website name, but thanks for going live for us tonight. Always a pleasure, Lauren. My best friend in the whole wide world, just in case you didn't know. So, but yeah, it's like these brands, they'll go and they'll have all of this stuff that drops, and then it's like you have those consumer-based cameras or prosumer cameras, like I said, like the M50, like the Canon R, start to go on steep discounts, and it just always works out for us as the consumer. So even if you were looking to upgrade your camera, like I said, we already saw that with the Canon M6, the original Canon M6 camera, which is a mirrorless camera. And so the only difference between, for real, is like you have the M50, which is right here, which I started to use tonight, but I just couldn't help myself. I wanted to use Sony, so whatever. So you have this M50 and the screen flips out to the side. And then you have the M6 where it doesn't have like the little viewfinder piece where you put your eye up to and you can see a little screen. Instead of the screen being over here, it's up top. But literally, for the most part, that camera is pretty much the same, other than it doesn't have 4K in there. But I honestly don't even think that that's important for a lot of people. It's benefits to 4K, and I may talk about that a little bit later, but it's not enough for most people to like jump from what you could get that camera at, which is like $300 brand new now. And I paid $800, okay? It's hard out here in these streets. I paid $800 when that mug first came out. And so now for it to be like $299, I'm thinking about getting one just because out of principle, shoot. But it's like, it's cool. Some, oh, you're my bestie too. All righty, Lauren, we're not going to, no tears tonight. All right. Not going there. But yeah, it's like that camera is $299, and I'm baffled. Like, I have seriously thought about buying that Canon M6 because it's just a good camera to get. And I think I probably may break my own word and say I wouldn't drop another dime on a Canon camera, but I will. And so for that price. But you have cameras like that. You have, like I said, I say don't buy a DSLR camera, and that's more or less because at the level that most people are starting in video, if you're an entrepreneur, which I do a lot of these videos for entrepreneurs and content creators that are just getting started, and it's just like you're trying to get started in a video, trying to do a lot of things, like the same camera I use in my business, the same camera I'm live streaming with right now. And so it's like you want to have that duality in purpose and use case, and just make it a good all around camera. Is there something wrong with using a web camera? No. Is there something wrong with using the camera on your laptop? No. It's just a matter of getting that better video quality when possible, or getting some access to some of those better features. So when you have a camera company like Canon making what this camera would be if it's real, and I'm going to go into these specs in just a second, then it is like going to be the biggest ripple that we have seen, because we're used to companies like Panasonic. And if you're not familiar, I'll kind of go through in just a second what they all do well and don't do well, and then we'll get into the specs, which will take me like 30 seconds maybe. So you have companies like Panasonic. We all expect them to give us amazing and incredible video features. You just aren't going to have great autofocus. And it doesn't matter how well that they try to improve that autofocus. Like Canon has dual pixel autofocus. Like Sony has their phase detection and eye and animal autofocusing stuff. So all of them have their own thing. But like Panasonic is like, no, our stuff is going to work. It's like, bro, it's not working. It's not happening. And so it don't matter if you buy a camera for $300, if you buy a camera for $4,000, it's still going to autofocus is going to suck. So it's just like, but it's going to be an amazing tool if you want to do that. So for me to sit down and want to hold up literally anything in front of the screen and have it focus on it, if I block my face, okay, yeah, and have it focus on it, and then I put it down. Is my hand ashy? I'm gonna feel so bad if my knuckles look like I'm punching bricks. Y'all never mind that. We'll cut that out after the stream. But no, but yeah, it's just like, so if I want that ability, if that's important to me or whatever, for any reason, or I just want the option, you're not going to get that with Panasonic. It's going to be a back and forth, and it looks like it's going cross-eyed and then straight-eyed, and then who knows what's happening. So that's the thing with Panasonic. When it comes to Sony, you're looking at more expensive lenses, and when you're talking about different purchases. So like I like this little cheap Yongnuo lens that everybody on the channel, if you've seen it, and you've like, oh my gosh, what lens is that? Thinking it is some big expensive lens. It's not. It's like $40, $50. And I have a speed booster on there that's like $200. So you don't even need the speed boosters if you want, though. And then I'm going to use this one as a demo, but I have a lens like let's just pretend this is a 35 millimeter lens that I'm using right now. It's $400. So, I don't know, $50, $400. It makes a big difference. And now, granted, they have cheaper lenses available that you can buy, but they're more expensive. And you'll hear a lot of people complain about the menu systems for one versus another. But at the same time, if you're new into like Sony stuff or new into any brand, you have to learn it. It's just like getting a new phone. You have to learn it. It doesn't matter how many other brands are out there and like, oh, well, this one's better. It don't matter. You pick the one you want, and then you got to learn it. Or a new computer, you have to learn it. So same thing. Nikon, don't know enough about them for real, other than they're okay. And I think pretty good with the autofocus from what I've seen in my experience. And memory cards are going to cost more based on the kind that they have in like the Z6 and Z7 camera, which the Z6 would be the one you're looking at for video. DSLRs I wouldn't touch at all. For Nikon, is just my personal opinion for video. And then Canon is the everyman's camera brand company. So that's my thoughts on it. So let me jump to the comments real quick. I'm sorry. Let me get in here. Henry, what's going on? Good to see you. Some thanks for all the info. Glad you're here. Well, I'm glad to be here. Lauren, you're saying that I'm excited to get an actual camera this year. I am excited as well, because guess who gets to teach you all that you're going to know? No, I'm just kidding. So I'm excited. It's always fun. Like, that's why I keep buying them. It's nothing like people talk about the new car smell. It's nothing like a new camera smells. Nothing like it. Drew, good to see you. Glad that you are here. It's been a minute. Hope all is well. All is well indeed, my friend. Good to see you. Adam's Exploits. Hello, Diana. Good to see you. What is going on, Adam? Glad that you're here. Adam still saying I need to get the Sigma 16 millimeter 1.4 for the M50, $475 after taxes. Grr. I feel you, man. I feel you. It's hard out here in these streets, Adam. It is. So, but no, I mean, like, I get that you want it. Don't get me wrong, but is it a need or is it a want? You know what I'm saying? So like, just take that into consideration. And so Lauren is saying, so true. You will teach me. Indeed, I shall. So, but yeah, so let me jump into the rumors and stuff, and we'll go into why that even matters for any of us in this life. So, again, rumor is that Canon is doing an 8K camera. Now, this is a rumor. It has not been confirmed, but canonrumors.com is where I'm getting all this stuff from. So I will drop a link in the chat if you want to follow along. And we got a hater already. A hater already. Alex, I already knew you was coming. I don't believe it's real. We'll get into that. We will get into that. You just hold your horses, okay? Hold your patooties, Mister. We're going to get into it, all right? Let me pull up this here thingy. Let me see here. Website. Here we go. All right. So rumor is Canon is dropping an 8K camera. So here are the specs according to what has all been released by some legit, some not legit. But for the most part, these are what they are saying. 45 megapixels, full frame CMOS sensor, which is all to say more megapixels information and such within the sensor. IBIS or it's going to be built-in in-body image stabilization. So as you're moving the camera around, it should be pretty stellar as far as being able to, stabilize the footage and the image and such. Hopefully things are okay. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right. I thought something was off. All right, there we go. Okay, so 12 frames per second and 20 frames per second. I believe this is mechanical, which is like the actual shutter blade stuff that comes down over the sensor. And then 20 frames per second is like electronic. That doesn't mean a whole lot to us that are interested in video. It just means that it should be relatively fast when taking photos. So people that are doing maybe, let's say, high school sports or something would find this interesting. But we don't care about photo stuff here. We care about video. So 8K, 30 frames per second. I'm going to put an asterisk, my personal asterisk behind that. 4K, 120 frames per second, which means very high quality, super slow motion video, which I'm also going to put my own personal asterisk next to that. 4K, 60 frames per second, which in a lot of cameras that you and I may have, it may have 1080p or HD video at 60 frames per second. So some slow motion, so this isn't bad. It's actually pretty cool. And it's rumored to be announced on February the 13th, 2020. And the way that these rumors typically happen is like we'll get some of these leaks, and sometimes like like the week before, the day before, we may get a spec sheet released and be able to clear up some of these details. Like I said, I'm putting my asterisks next to some of this stuff that I'm gonna go into just a second and my thoughts on it. And then so it gets announced by February, maybe, July, August, which is for Canon, is usually around August that we'll see the actual camera be able to buy or for purchases. So it says full specifications here, which is like, again, just more on that. So that's the Canon R5. There is a Canon R6, and according to like Canon's lineup, the bigger that number is, the less better it is, quote unquote. So 20 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor, which means it's not worse when you see that lower number in the sensor. It just means it's going to be better for low light. So the lower that number is, the better it's going to be for low light. So we'll see about this. This is like interesting, but I'm not sure. Still has built-in in-body image stabilization, 12 frames per second mechanical, 20 frames per second for electronic. Again, that's dealing with photo stuff. 4K 60, and rumored announcement is May 2020. And then they also have some lenses coming out, which are this 24 to 105. I can probably believe this f3.5, 5.6. If you're following along in the Camera Basics series here on the channel, you hear me explain about how this deals with exposure and stuff like that and blurry backgrounds on your cameras and such. And then the RF 100, I don't care about this stuff. The extenders, we'll see, but this is not important for us here on the channel. And then a Canon T8i, another DSLR, the same daggone camera that they've been coming out with for the longest time. They didn't made 83 Canon T8 whatevers. I'm sick of it, Canon. Stop the nonsense, okay? Where is the RP that's not crippled to death? Where's the R that's not crippled to death, okay? I got a soapbox for this camera, all right? But that's probably going to happen. It's just a dumb DSLR that's coming out for no reason, adds no additional benefits, saves no lives out here in these streets, and who knows what the heck a QX10 is. So as I finish my rant on that. Now, I say asterisks next to some of this stuff. So let's talk about the R5. Let me jump to the comments real quick, and then I'll jump to my thoughts around that. So like I said, Alex said he already think it's not real, so that's fine. We'll touch on that. Mathematica Humanista, what's up, Carlos? Good to see you. Said, hi, Dan. I'm thinking about switching from the M50 to the Sony A6400. You're the best. Love you. Love you too, my friend. Good to see you. I always see your stuff on Facebook and drop you a like, even though it's in a different language, but I try. I just speak two languages, English and bad English, okay? It's hard out here in these streets. But other comments we got here saying, Adam's exploits for my coffee. I'm just going to buy the Sigma lens and use that for everything. I figure I'll stick to Canon for a couple years and decide, hold on, sorry, that comment went away fast. And then decide if I want to switch to Sony or upgrade my Canon. You say a few years, and we always say, oh, I'll keep this for you. It never happens. 2 years is probably the max for any. Once you get in, Adam, it's hard. It's hard to get out. It's like getting jumped into a game, okay? You get in the camera stuff. You get stuck. Hey, Diana, you've been a champion for me since I purchased my N50. Keep up the great work. Oh, well, thank you so much, Marlon. I appreciate that so much. That means a lot. That way I just had the camera and a kit lens to sell if I want to stick to it. Well, that's a good strategy. That's usually what I do. I do a kit lens and a prime lens, and then I'll stick with that until I figure out what else that I want to do. So Alex saying that's why we can't believe these rumors. Canon don't ever want to give you features. And let's touch on this rumored camera. So we got through the comments. Sensor-wise, which for those of you that are new to video or not as familiar, it's this little box that you see in there. That's the sensor, the thing that's outputting all the information. Okay. So I think as far as the sensor, like whether, again, like if that number is higher, it's going to be better for portraits. And like you'll see like the Sony A7R, whatever, Sony A7R 4, stuff like that. Cameras up there, you'll see like 75 megapixels, 50 megapixels, like it just gets to be ridiculous. But it's for photographers. That's a more photo-based camera. So this one is saying it will have like a half and half kind of. It'll be pretty good. It'll be a little bit higher than what we used to seeing. So not as low. Built-in in-body image stabilization. I've seen the patents that have leaked around this on the rumored, still here on CanonRumors.com, or you can go to like CanonWatch.com. There's a ton of rumors for every brand, every camera company. So I've seen that they have patents for it. How well is it going to work? Who knows? I think they don't even need to do a whole bunch. I believe we're going to see IBIS. So if there's like a box of things I believe are going to happen and things I believe are not going to happen, I would put IBIS in that box of I think it's true, because we've seen patents on it, but patents doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get a release, but it's time for it now. But Canon's electronic image stabilization, which is like their digital form of what in-body image stabilization would be, I think it's time for it. We've seen patents for it. The market is starting to get aggressive enough, and Canon doing this will push everybody else. I think we'll see some more from Nikon. And if out of anybody, honestly, I'm really excited to see what Nikon is going to do, because their stuff is not that bad. Like, I was just floored when I saw the Z6, like got hands on with it. It's a really good camera, but there are reasons that I've talked about why I wouldn't get it personally. But it's an amazing camera. So I just think it's time for it. And the fact that those cameras have been out for a year, they've been doing firmware updates and stuff to get their IBIS where it needs to be, and all the stuff that comes with releasing a new line of cameras, then Canon only really cares about Nikon and what they're doing. It's just like whatever primary high school or your high school versus whatever rival high school. It kind of works like that. So IBIS, I think, is real. I'm not worried about like how fast the camera shoots for photography purposes. Again, I only care about video on this channel. 8K 30 frames per second. I think this is a lie from the pit of hell. Okay, let me tell you why. I think that this is not true, because Canon don't never give nothing. Like Alex was right about that as well. Canon don't ever give anything, which is why I have ranted so bad in the past about stuff that Canon does. Oh, we'll give you this, but we won't give you that. It's like you can use the bathroom, but we don't have no toilet tissue in there. So good luck. And are you trying to figure out, well, what do I do? It's just like, it's always the same with Canon. I don't think that is like, I do not believe that they're going to change their tune that much to where we can see like 8K 30 frames per second. If we do, it's going to be in a weird way. Like, it the video may be 5 minutes. It may not have autofocus. It may not have audio. Like, it'll be some specialty something. Technically, Panasonic had 6K in the Panasonic GH5. It's just in a photo based type something. So technically, it has 6K, the ability, if you wanted to do 6K video in the Panasonic GH5 at the first, like at release date, they had that. So, but they didn't release it and announce it as like a 6K video something. But there is a way to get like 6K video out of the GH5. So Panasonic has already been able to do some of that stuff. And you talking about Canon, they haven't done 4K, right? Y'all just gonna jump to 8K? Get out of here. That's just like, so that it's just got to be like a lie or something that's mixed over for another camera. I just don't believe Canon's going to do that. As far as the whole 4K 120 frames per second, I don't believe that either, because again, Canon barely does the basics, which would be 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second, which basically, again, if you're new to video, 24 frames per second will look like this, and that more or less deals with the quality of the video and motion blur. And so if you are watching any movies or anything like that, those are at 24 frames per second. You're watching the news or a soap opera, those are usually at 30 frames per second. And so you can see a little bit of the difference in the quality. And that's literally all that is. So 4K 120 frames per second, it would be nice if they did, but when they released the Canon R and the M50, like you get 120 frames per second, but it's 720p, which is like 2003 HD video settings. And then you have the Canon R that had 4K video, but it's all these stipulations and freaking asterisks to the wazoo. So it's just not dependable, in my opinion. It's not reliable, I don't think. And if they did it, I think it'll be crippled to all hell. Like, straight up. I just think it's just going to be like, it's the whole, anybody seen that movie Misery with, what's her name? Kathy Bates. She took that dude. Oh yeah, I love your book. I read all your books. Yeah, I'm breaking your legs. It just, so you got to write this book for me. Like, oh yeah, great idea. Middle of the night, break his legs and keep breaking them. Just like, that's Canon. If I had to put it in a meme, like Canon and his Kathy Bates at that point, the with the cripple hammer, breaking homeboy's legs. It's most unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So I don't think this 8K stuff is legit, honestly. I just don't see Canon doing that. Like, it's just like such a jump in what they've been doing to what they're doing now. It's just like, no way, absolutely not. Like, I can't believe it. And then, so I think it is going to be something. I just don't think it's going to be like legit what they're talking about. So like I say, 4K 120 frames per second. If they do, it'll be some weird whatever. Only works on these kind of lenses. If you put this kind of lens on it, then it crops. And like, hell, they might as well turn off half of the video. Just black screen. Okay, you get audio, no video. Like, that's the kind of stuff you expect from Canon. But if they did, holy crap, is going to, like, everybody is going to poop their pants, like, legit. 4K 60 is time for it. But even if they do this, I think it's going to be crippled to all hell. I think we can expect something by February, probably the week of or a couple days before. We probably will see a spec sheet leaked or something like that. Now, the R6, this is a little bit more believable for me. A camera, 20 megapixels, anywhere between 20 and 45. I think this still would be true for this camera. Potentially, they're saying maybe it'll be some kind of video-centered camera, since it is this lower megapixel count, which means it'll be amazing in low light, which anytime you've ever heard of anybody talk about the Sony A7S line of cameras and those being really good in low light, that's what they're potentially comparing this to. I don't really see that as a thing, though, for real. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But I think this is legit for this one. This may get announced in February because it's like some photo shows and stuff like that. And then a 24-105, a basic kit lens just for these new cameras that they're releasing to come out with it. I think this is reliable, something that we can expect. And like the other stuff, like I said, for video, it really don't matter for real. But I think, like I said, reason why I say I don't think something like a lower megapixel count camera like they're saying 20 megapixels or whatever. You'll see 10, 18, 20 numbers like that when they're trying to make it really good in low light, because the less boxes it is for each megapixel, the bigger that they can be on that sensor, so that they can each let in more and more light. And that's how that works if they're talking about a camera coming out with 1 megapixel number versus another. And so if that's the case, I don't think there's a need for it, because I think we've seen enough information out there that confirms what the Sony a7 III is in video. It already pretty much matches, or maybe a little bit better, in lower light situations. And I haven't even looked at what the Sony a7 R4 is like in lower light situations. But regardless, any of their newer cameras over like the past 2 years from Sony has already, in low light capabilities, surpassed, I think for the most part, what the Sony a7 III was in its heyday and what it can do. Is it still an amazing camera in lower light situations? Absolutely. But are there cameras that they've released out since then amazing in lower light situations? Absolutely. So it's just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't really see much of a need for it, for what it is. So to come out with a low light beast, so to speak, you know, it's like, yeah, it may work in low light, but then it gets crippled all to hell. You know what I'm saying? So that's my only gripe with Canon. I don't trust for them to release any good cameras that are not beaten to hell and saying like, oh, well, you need a cinema camera. Who got me sounding like an owl out here? Who goes from, I have $2,000 to $2,500, maybe even $3,000. I'm willing to invest on a great camera. And you go look at all of the options that Canon may have with lenses, because all of their RF for like the Canon R, the Canon RP, any of these anything cameras requires that RF lens. And any of those RF lenses are at least like $1,000. So not only are you going to spend $1,500 or more on the camera body, but you just dropped an extra $1,000 at least on the lens. So we already over this budget, but you say at least I got $2,000 to $3,000 I'm willing to invest in a camera. You go to Canon's lineup of cameras and you're trying to decide and make a decision, and then they're the only company that like, you know what? I really think a $10,000 camera is what you need. I just really think, you know, I mean, add another zero and you're in there. We can help you. Like, it's just like, no, shut your mouth. Like, ain't nobody playing these reindeer games. But if you're in the world of a cinema camera, there are better options out there. As bizarre as it sounds, I've looked at cinema cameras and I found even something like the Sony FS5, 6. Yeah, I've seen some even locally here, $3,500. Why would I invest with Canon, a cinema line that's going to cost more and still has less features, when on the other side of the world, or even like I've looked at Blackmagic cinema cameras. You have the Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera 4K. What the hell are y'all doing with those naming schemes? Seriously. Blackmagic got a 4K and a 6K camera. And those are cheap, like $1,500 cheap. And then you have their other, like the Ursa Mini Pro. It's a bunch of names and stuff. And those are amazing cameras and stuff like that. And they're still cheaper, more value. You know what I'm saying? I could go with the Panasonic line of cinema cameras. So it's just like, y'all not the only ones in the game, and other people have already bought into what a lot of these other brands are doing anyway. So, you know, it's just like, I don't see for like what these cameras would bring to the market. If Canon did it, I could see like, dag, I'm glad I was wrong. I think everybody would be more than happy to be wrong in this case, because all of our other favorite camera companies that we're even considering, well, I'm already switched, but that we would consider, would go this route. Even if they dropped it, I still wouldn't buy it, because I don't trust that, like, you may give us one camera, but it may be 73 years from now before you get another good one. They're going to keep playing this. Oh, we'll give you this, we won't give you that. And then you got people on the internet now, because it was cheap enough, switching to like the Canon EOS R. Well, I mean, it's okay. You know, it's like it's discounted now. It's just like, let's stop making excuses for this, okay? Canon, get off your butt. do a little bit better. If you drop all these things, go for the gold, okay? Go for the gold. Please put all of these things in there. I hope that you don't limit, like 4K 120, go for the gold. But it's just like, if we can't even get y'all to drop the recording limit, why would I think you're going to do 8K video? That's my thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could release cameras with no penalty, tax-wise now, to the brand and not have a recording limit, and your camera still wouldn't overheat. I've proven that even with a camera as cheap as the M50. I literally had this thing the last couple days running for like almost 2 days straight, forgetting to turn it off, hooked up for live streaming or whatever for some stuff I was doing. It's fine. Works just fine. I only switched cameras because I felt like it. You have no overheating problems in these lower bodies. And if you do upgrade to some of these features like we've seen in these rumored specs, then we're also looking at heating issues, which I think is why we haven't seen the other unicorn camera of the industry, which is the Sony A7S III. So I think Sony even themselves, like, now they dealt with overheating really bad in some of their, like, nearly all of their older cameras. Anything that came out before this Sony A6400, which was like, if it came out in 2017 on back, has overheating issues to some degree. Anything from the Sony A6400, A6600 on up, any more recent camera, no overheating issues whatsoever. I've done live events with these cameras, do my live streaming with these cameras, do regular video shoots, about to record a course with this camera, like zero issues heating wise. But the more you add, and you're asking literally these little computers that we're calling cameras to do all of these things, I think if they do something like this, we're looking at a vent or some kind of ventilation system in there to get some of that heat off the sensor. I think like we're past, like if you're going to do 4K 60 on up, I think, which Fuji, I haven't even talked about Fuji yet, but if you're going to do anything beyond 4K 60, I think with adding more and more and more to these cameras, we're looking at potential overheating issues, which they had that in the 90D, believe it or not. And DSLR bodies are bigger. And it was just like, oh, well, you can do uncropped 4K video, but, it may overheat. So if you go to the crop version, then it may be, and it's just like, I don't want to think that much when it comes to the video stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, or one of the reasons I'm jumping to these comments. So if you got questions, comments about video, anything relating to video, doesn't just have to be the Canon R cameras or whatever. Let me know. Because Carlos, you asked about something. So I'm going to jump into that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about something, you want to talk about other stuff relating to video, let me know. I'll jump into that. But it's just my thoughts on these Canon cameras. I think they're going to drop something. I think it's time for it. Should we at least see 4K 60? Yeah. But expect it to come with an asterisk next to it. Expect it to be with some kind of limitations. And furthermore, this really benefits prosumer level market, let's say $2,000 on under. Any other cameras that do come out or anything else that already is out, we've seen the Canon R get discounted steeply. So maybe that goes from $1,500 to $1,000. I've seen them on like Facebook Marketplace, eBay, whatever. I like Facebook Marketplace, honestly. $1,000. Canon R barely used $1,000. RPs are starting to just be like, as cheap as DSLRs. I've seen 70D, 80D cameras from Canon, $450. So we're seeing cameras now really, 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 really come down in pricing in a very good way. So if you're trying to get started in video, you're ready to move to something better or get your foot in that door. Because like I said, that Canon RF 24-105 lens, that's a standard zoom for just about any camera. So the fact that it lets me know it is going to be the kit lens. Anytime you see that f3.5 to 5.6, that's kit lens material. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad, because this is, where is it? This is a actually pretty old kit lens from Sony. It's that 16 to 50, the power zoom or whatever. But the difference is not all kit lenses are created equal, because Fuji makes great lenses, great kit lenses, great everything lenses. Even I'm really surprised with the quality of the kit lens. I've snuck some stuff in videos, testing it out, slow motion, punched in really tight, and everybody's just like raving about the video. And I'm like, y'all have no idea that was on a kit lens, do you? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, they have no idea. You can't tell the difference between the $400 lens and the $50 lens. So, it's just like, but the camera body and the output that it's giving isn't bad quality. And so that's some of the major differences when you're looking at a camera by this brand versus maybe the M50. Because I got a lot of you all that are like, yeah, man, I want to switch to something better too, or I want more features too. I'm looking at the Sony. And for a lot of you all, I have not recommended the camera to you for your specific reasons or for what you're doing. And it's just like, really consider the cost of switching, which is why I did that video on that. So let me jump to some of these comments. Let's see here. Okay. Carlos, you are asking, actually, you know what? I want to make sure I will try to figure this out, because see how the comments are disappearing? Let me try to figure that out real quick. But if you have more questions, please leave them below as I'm going through this really quickly. And if I can't figure it out, I'll just read faster. Yeah, I'm not going to waste time on it. So, Carlos, you're saying, can I make a video about the best ways to take care of our cameras and lenses, how to store them, how to clean them? I know nothing about that. I've actually never honestly even considered that. But it is important to know. If there's one quick tip that I would share with you, it would be those, and I don't have one near me, but it would be that those little beads or whatever, those moisture bags and strips that you see that come with anything that you buy, electronic. If you have a camera bag, if you have a book bag, if you got a purse, it doesn't matter what you're putting your stuff in. Like, I live in St. Louis, it gets super humid here, and our temperatures always fluctuate from one thing to the next. And again, we have to remember these are computers and electronics. And so if you get, or even like, again, just honestly keep them, accumulate them, and just put them off to the side. I put those everywhere that I'm going to have my stuff, so that when I'm going from the airport to out in the elements, and then I'm back in the car and whatever, and you're switching all of these different things for temperature, and you know what I'm saying, or you're in the car, it's cold, and then you have the heat on, maybe your bag is on the floor, whatever, it's just a change in temperature. You want to have one of those moisture packs at least in your bag somewhere, so that it's absorbing that moisture. So don't ever throw those away. Most people just toss them. Put those in some of everything. Even like in this memory card case, I take one of the little ones that you would get probably in like a pill container, because it's the same thing, and I put it in here so that as I'm switching, because this is rubber, and so if you've ever had a grandma, a great auntie, and you go to their house and they got plastic on their furniture, and you sit down and you and you get stuck, it's called moisture, fam. Okay, that is the same thing. It's like you got rubber, plastic, or whatever. You put your stuff next to it, it is gonna be stuck, or it's gonna have damages or whatever. But that's why I recommend certain memory cards, SanDisk Extreme or SanDisk Extreme Pro cards, because they have some of those benefits of it being moisture resistant. Or like certain cameras, like the weather sealing that the A6400 have. Now the Canon doesn't have that, but I've put them through the rigors, and it's pretty okay. But certain stuff like this that I'm doing right now, even that's exposed, that's a no-no for me. I always keep this covered. If it's not in use, then it's covered by either the microphone or something, because these are electronics. And so just stuff like that, I would say to start with. But I probably do like a quick tips video and make note of that. But yeah, that's where I would say just like some quick power tips off the top of my head. Says, sorry for being off topic. No worries. It's a Q&A added to that as well. Some thanks. Really helpful. You're most welcome, mademoiselle. Referring to the frames per second. Okay, got you. So Henry saying, for us that just want the bottom line, one of your previous videos taught us that we need to get the camera that best suits us. How does one know? I always talk about making your non-negotiables list. So if you want to figure out what camera should I buy, or how, if I haven't even bought a camera before, what are my non-negotiables? I don't know. I only know what I see on YouTube. I would say, for what you see in other people's videos, what do you notice and what do you like? Now, you don't know what you don't like just yet if you're not doing any video at all. But if you at least can look at somebody's video. Now, granted, don't ever think from what you see on somebody's video, you're going to get that camera, buy it, pull it out the box, and it's just going to work. It never works like that, because there are features, there are changes, and I promise you, in some of the videos where they say, hey, this is just out of the box, settings are adjusted, and it's never just like I literally didn't change anything and then just turned the camera on. It's never like that. The difference between being an automatic in your video settings versus having dedicated video settings, like I'm at 320 ISO, I'm at f2.8, this, like all of these specifics, making those changes versus it being an automatic makes a difference. Because if I hold this thing up that's black, it'll start to expose for this and start to make changes. Or you see brighter spots of my hand, which thankfully are not ashy, versus, my shirt, it'll start trying to like, oh, should I be focusing on that or focusing on that for brightness and darkness? And so things like that. So just setting the camera makes a difference. So how do you know if it's for you or not? I would say that, again, look at their camera that they're using, which I have, honestly, a problem. I don't care if it's a beauty vlogger. I want to know every camera everybody is using. Okay. I saw Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm like, oh, what camera is he using? Did he put it in the description? It's like, I want to know. But just look around to who you like to watch and what do you notice them doing. Again, this camera could be locked off and it doesn't have autofocus. So you figure, oh, well, this camera is great, which you'll see in a lot of, sometimes beauty vloggers video. They're like, oh, I use the Canon T6i. I'm going to tell you that camera does not have great autofocus. Don't use it. I always say though, for most, if you have a basic baseline, if I had to say, you want me to choose for you, I'll choose for you. Here's what you should be looking for. You should at least be looking for a camera that has no less than 1080p, which is full HD video, 60 frames per second, or 60 FPS. That means at the bare minimum in HD video, you should be able to get some basic slow motion if you choose to. Not that you have to, but if you choose to. Anything better is just better. So that'll let you get by and start experimenting to even see, do I need more or do I want more? Because everybody has that. Everybody talks about, I want a camera that has good background blur. Background blur has nothing to do with the camera. It has everything to do with the lenses. So if you want that, then that's a lens thing. It's not a camera thing. So I'm not going to even touch that right now in this moment. So the next thing would be, for what you're trying to do, like how deep down the rabbit hole are you trying to go? It's like, if you want a basic camera, you're not like, you don't have a lot of time, you're not trying to do a whole bunch, a Canon camera is going to be the one for you. I don't care what anybody else says on the internet. A Panasonic camera is not going to work for you because you're going to be fighting with autofocus. Oh, there's a color tinge or it's a slight green hue to it, and you don't know how to go in and adjust the hue settings. Leave it alone. Leave it alone, because you're adding more problems than you have time to solve as entrepreneurs. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why I recommend a lot of Canon cameras. It is going to save you a ton on time, a ton on learning curve, and enough to just, even if you put it in auto or got a couple things manually adjusted, you'll have far better video quality than you would on your phone. So that's what I would say. If you are wanting to live stream, I don't know if I would even recommend a camera that has the clean HDMI, because again, that's adding additional layers like the Elgato Cam Link. And you're like, oh, what is that thing? Oh, what is whatever? That's a whole nother list of questions and concerns. Start with doing the video. If you want to go live on your phone or go live on your laptop, and even see if you can consistently do live streaming first and then figure that out. Because most of the time people trying to figure all this stuff, and I got to figure out this and that and something else or another, and they're not even going to consistently do it, so it's like, don't even worry about live stream. But like I said, that's where I would start. And doesn't need to have 4K video. The honest answer is no, it doesn't. It just needs to have really good autofocus, like dependable autofocus. Like dual, if it doesn't say 1080p and dual pixel autofocus, don't buy it for Canon. If it does, it's a camera that doesn't have phase detection autofocus, don't buy it. Now you'll have more preferred brands, like some people say I love Fuji, some people say I love Sony or Canon. If you're just getting started, I'd recommend a Canon camera because it's super duper easy to use. Super duper easy to use. Would I recommend a Sony camera if you want to start? If you want to, you can. But again, lens options. How much are you willing to invest for lens? And I always say, get a kit lens, get a prime lens, because everybody wants the blurry background. So let's touch on it. So if you got a kit lens, one, the kit lens does a couple things, because I hate when people poop on the kit lens and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody has a preference. Y'all done got me going. Henry, you done got me going, so we going there. I'm going to talk until ain't nobody on the live stream no more. No, I'm just kidding. But everybody poop on the kit lens. First of all, most people that talk about the kit lens are a filmmaker. You shouldn't even be touching the kit lens to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Other than to resell your camera when you're ready to, you ain't going to touch that kit lens no way. So why even talk about it? Because somebody that's looking to learn about video, like entrepreneurs, like a content creator that maybe you draw and you want to have videos and create videos on drawing or whatever, or you knit or whatever, like you don't know to not care. You don't know to not, you know what I'm saying, not buy it. So people that are in a certain specific niche sometimes have no business talking about certain gear because it was never made for them. The mommy blogger, the you know what I'm saying, the stay-at-home mom, the aunt that draws, that wants to start a drawing channel, the kit lens is for people like them. So they can figure out, like, oh, I don't know the difference between whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I can zoom in. Because most people think, oh, 16 to 50, 18 to 55, why buy just a lens that only has the one focal length in there when I have one that has all of them in there? And the difference is, again, you get a prime lens, something like this Yongnuo 35 millimeter lens, because it has the f 2.0, 1.8, I don't know. But it'll say the one focal length number, 35 millimeters, 16 millimeters, whatever. And then you see that F number, f1.2. It needs to be f2.0 or lower for you to get a blurry background. Right now I'm on f2 something, I think f2.0 maybe, and the background is blurry, even in a live stream, because it has nothing to do with the software. It has nothing to do with the camera. It is solely based on the lens, okay? So you can get a cheaper lens. Like I said, this one's like $44 or something. It's incredible. But a filmmaker would say, oh, it's trash. Look at the edges are blurry. Shut up. Ain't nobody, this ain't for you. Ain't for you. So again, consider the source for who you're buying stuff from or taking suggestions from. But if you're talking about something like that, sometimes you got to take some of this stuff people say with a grain of salt. Because they'll say, oh, the edges are blurry. You need new glasses. You can't even see straight. So what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, do you care if, where is it? Over here? Like, is my shoulder blurred? Like, did you ever look over here today? Did you ever look right there to see, oh, I see a lime green fringing? Like, you shut up. Like, that pisses me off. Like, like straight up. Like, stop talking like that for average person. So get a kit lens, get a prime lens. That's what you need. You need just those two to start with. The kit lens is going to help you because you can see, what am I using the most? If I put the kit lens up there to get the same stuff in the frame in this box, it would still be 35 millimeters. But I don't know that. And I'm not going to, if I buy a 50, let me show y'all where y'all done got me going out here in these streaks. Okay. If I got, where are we at? Here we go. So for those of you that are new, which a lot of people are, if this is a 35 millimeter, a 50 millimeter would be something like this here. Okay, 50 millimeter, it's going to be stupid close. And you can even see I got a zit that's healing on my nose. So 50 millimeters is this close. and you put this 50 millimeter that somebody on the internet didn't recommend it, or worse, an 85 millimeter. Now we just close and personal. Let's go on a date. Super close. Okay. Like, you don't know what you need until you get it in your space. You know what I'm saying? I would need a 20 millimeter or something prime lens to get a blurry background and to have more in the frame or something like that. So you use the kit lens to figure out what do you have your camera set at that's going to work for you in your space. That's how you know. Get the kit lens, get a camera, get the kit lens, get your list of non-negotiables, things that are important or whatever. And then you go off of that. That's how you know. And then you can say, oh, well, when I'm doing my live stream, to get everything that I want in the frame is 20 or 25 millimeters. That means I can find a 20, a 24 or something like that, maybe millimeter lens that will work for me. And I know to get it at f2.0 or lower. And then you can start searching for your camera and that lens mount and then start doing it that way. And that'll help you, with getting the thing that's right for you. If somebody has a bigger space, they're sitting further back, whatever, a 50 may work for them. For me, it's 35. I can put a 35, I could do a 20, 22, or 24, whatever. But to get the blurry background, it just needs to be an f2.0 or lower. So that's what I would say, honestly, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So Henry's saying, what are your thoughts on the camera for iPhone or iPad? I don't know what you mean by that. What are your thoughts on the camera for iPhone? Like the camera on the iPhone? I think it's brilliant. Yeah, they putting 3 lenses on there. I think it's brilliant. I just think, I have no qualms for people using their phone for video. When I did it, starting because everybody say, oh, we'll just start with your phone. So I'm like, great, I'll just start with my phone. I realized my phone camera sucked at the time. Granted, it wasn't all what camera phones are now, but it's like mine sucks. So now I had to buy a new phone, trying to get the, better specs for video that would be available on a phone, get it, and then realize I don't like it because there are too many things that I need to do, with this, like the same settings and stuff that you would have to adjust probably on a camera. You're going to get some kind of software, some kind of app or something like the Filmic Pro or something like that to give you access to those settings. And then they're like, oh, well, you can buy this case with this lens and this whatever. And it's just like, you know what? If I'm buying that kind of a stuff, why don't I just get a dedicated tool for video? And that's my thing. So I love having the better features on a phone because some people like smartphone filmmakers, like I love it. A channel I would honestly recommend is called iPhoneographers. So you can look that up. And then Moment Pro Lenses. They have a YouTube channel. They teach you how to use your phone for video, like amazingly. I would suggest looking them up if you're trying to do stuff with your phone. You absolutely can. I just got to the point to where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to buy an app and then buy this and buy whatever. And then a new phone come out. It's still $1,000. Like, why don't I just keep my same phone? And the video is more than enough for my live streaming on Instagram. Hashtag shameless plug, Tuesday through Saturday, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Entree Chat's Daily Live podcast. So that's available there on Instagram at Diana Gladney. But yeah, so it's like that's more than enough for that. If I wanted to do a video out and about, vlogging, me and my friends, whatever, which a lot of times I will feed in videos from my phone into my regular videos. Y'all don't know the difference. Nobody has ever commented and saying, oh, that's on your phone, ain't it? Y'all don't have a clue. So it fits in really well. So it doesn't matter. As far as that's concerned, you can. So we got Casper to y'all. Hello, good to see you. It said kit lens is perfect. Unless you are shooting wildlife, then you need a 70 to 300 is good. Yes, that is very true. Those longer focal ranges, anything more than that, than it is for more specific dedicated needs like that. So that's absolutely true. Say, great microphone. This one? Why, thank you. Samson Q2U. All right, so let's see. Drew said, also, it is important for those new to this to be aware that the same lens will give different areas of coverage on a full frame camera than it will on a mirrorless. I'm going to have to figure out what setting I need to change on here to do that. Micro Four Thirds, because, continuation, Each of those different kinds of sensor, full frame, mirrorless, micro four thirds, have different capabilities regarding light capture, magnification, and so on. And that is absolutely correct. And what Drew is saying, to those of you that thought we were just speaking a special language, on the inside of every camera, you have what you'll hear people talk about all the time, this box called the sensor. This one right here in the M50, the one in the camera I'm using, the Sony a6400, are what's called APS-C. And you've heard me talk about this on the channel. I always talk about small, medium, and large French fries. That's the context. This is what you would consider your medium French fry. This is the medium. This is the average sensor size. Micro four thirds, if you come in, it's like less. Let's say it's half. It's not quite half, but let's say it's half. It's much smaller, which means it's a smaller box. It takes in less light. So whereas I could be on, I don't know, 400 on the ISO or something like that, and it will look bright like this with a light, then on a micro four thirds, maybe that's like Panasonic, any of the Panasonic G85, GH5, any of those Panasonic cameras, not their newer full frame ones, we'll talk about that, but any of those Panasonic G85, GH5 kind of cameras, smaller sensor, which means it's collecting less light. That's the small for micro four thirds, your small French fries. It doesn't mean it's bad video quality. It just means there is going to be a difference like Drew was talking about. And then full frame, which means it takes up most of the space. Like it'll be like super full. And so honestly, it's like this sensor size is what a lot of cinema cameras and cameras that you see movies recorded on, a lot of them had sensors like this. I'm not talking about old school, like black and white video. I'm talking about like recent stuff will have like an APS-C or what you call 35, or it's similar to a 35 millimeter focal range. It was something like this. So if this works for films, it's going to work fine for me on YouTube. So that's why I don't be into the whole, it got to be full frame. Again, leave that alone. But for photographers, you have full frame. So that means, and then that crop, it's smaller, small, medium, large sensor sizes. It's a different magnification. So with Canon, any lens, if it's, at any lens size, it's going to be that lens size times that crop factor is going to give you what that equivalent would be to a full frame. So full frame, whatever the focal length, that's the baseline. So it's like, it's a 1.5 magnification times whatever for it to be comparable to full frame. So micro four thirds is like 2. So it'll be, if it's a 10 millimeter, you got to take that 10 millimeter lens times 2, and now you got what it is equivalent to. But honestly, it's like for a lot of people though, it kind of don't matter. It's like you just got to think, what is it for you? I've never said like what a 35 millimeter lens is compared to on full frame for like these live streams, for example, because it don't matter. 35 works for this space. So I'm not, well, that's an equivalent to whatever. And that's not no hacks on you at all, Drew, but I'm just saying for me and for like why I specifically teach the way I do on the channel, it's like do it matter what it's equivalent to in full frame right now? No, it's a 35 and it gives me this. That's all we need to know. So it's just like, if it's anything more, I don't care what it is equivalent to full frame because it doesn't help me any in my recording space. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's equivalent to it don't matter. I promise you, y'all, it don't matter. Like, again, it's like some of this stuff, like I for real am like about to start a revolt on YouTube for some of this stuff the photographers, cinematographers get into, because it becomes a distraction to trying to learn the basics. So that's my whole thing on it. But like I said, nothing against you, Drew. But yeah, it is important though when you're buying the camera to know which one that you're getting. Absolutely, 1,000% agree with you. Because I wasn't aware of that. I'm like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, is this one good? That one good? Let's go with that one. And, it's just like I didn't know. So if you don't know, that's why I say small, medium, large. Go with the mediums as a baseline at least. But again, like I said, for me, and I think at least for this channel, And for most people, I'm not recommending Panasonic cameras, not because they're terrible cameras. It just has terrible autofocus. And for a new beginner, somebody that's just getting started, trying to do a lot of stuff, that's not super helpful. So if you buy into it, you know what you're buying into. You know, like, that you're adding onto your workflow and your process and stuff like that. It's just like you're aware at that point. But for some of the questions that I get, in the way that they're phrased lets me know it's like you're not familiar, you're not aware. You're going to be adding more hell to your thing. And then it takes you like 45 minutes to set up to do a 10-minute video. It's just like, we're detracting now. You know, it's that law of diminishing return. So, let's see. Steph Shutter said, as long as you know how to set up and use your camera, any lens will work. Hold on, I got caught up. Hold on. Let me repost this because it's going to disappear in a second. As long as you know how to set up and use your camera, any lens will work. I have a couple lenses that I use on my M50, but I always find myself mainly using the kit lens because it's so compact. So that's a true statement. Like, you do want to know how to use your stuff. And that's why I recommend starting with the basic stuff, because it's like, until you realize what you actually need. And it's not until you buy your first camera and then you realize, you know what, X, Y, and Z actually is pretty important to me. Like, I actually really do care about, it being full frame, and whatever number that's on the lens is the exact focal length. I don't have to worry about crop factor and stuff. Like, I actually want that. That's important to me. Now you know to go get a full frame camera, and I would rather that be the situation than you just never buying something and you sticking in analysis paralysis and you just stuck. It's like you got to drop money on something before you realize, like, oh, you know what, it's not the right one. It's like, or that's, I actually do need, or whatever. And then you find out what your specific things are. But if you never learn how to use it, it don't matter. That's why I say start with the kit lens, figure out what are you using, what focal length are you using more often than others, because you could get a wide angle lens that is like the 16, like me and Adam talked about, and you realize it's too wide. It's got the bathroom in the shot now, and it's got this in the shot and whatever. And it's just like, I can't even zoom in if I can't bring it like close enough to cut all the stuff out. Like, it gets to be a problem for you. Now you like, well, now what do I need? Now you like, oh, I'm beyond the 30. Like, it's just too much stuff that comes up with all that. And Drew saying go with medium focal length lenses and a speed booster, and it'll work and it'll give you the most versatility. So I'm just going to say, okay. That's what I'm saying. Just get used to really good at what you have and what you can afford. Very true. I think it's super easy because like Steph is like hitting it right on the money. With that, it's super easy for me to list and say all the things that you should buy, and you got to have a speed booster. You got to have the M50. Like, you got to get all of these things, and you should buy. And it's just like, you got all this stuff sitting there. I see so many times, which is honestly a personal frustration for me, because I want everybody to be in video. I was talking about this on Instagram, because it's like everybody has a message to share. Everybody has something worth value of sharing. If you are a father and you're a damn good father, show that. Like, it's dudes out here trying to figure out what to do. Like, they never had a father figure, or their father figure died too early, and they have burning questions that they wish they could connect with somebody with, and they don't have one. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, if you showing that or showing how you're doing whatever, like my friend Anita, she sews and she does amazing stuff. I can't help you if something ripped. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know the running stitch, and it was another one that loops around. That's all I got. So, but it's like, I enjoy watching her literally make the most amazing clothes. But on her Instagram stories today, no talking, just a little quick thing, adding, seasoning salt, adding this much, whatever. And she was just showing her cooking a meal. So if I'm a young lady and I'm having challenges learning how to be a better young lady or a better young woman, or it's just like, dag, I'm still kind of ratchet from my young days. How do I become a young woman? Then it's just like, I could maybe start following her for one reason. And then I'm following her on Instagram thinking I'm gonna get more sewing tips. I'm like, oh, she just taught me how to cook a meal. Maybe I try that tonight. Maybe I DM her and I ask her a question, and she's able to help me, with different things. So it's just like, everybody got something to share. And it really pisses me off when I see people on Facebook Marketplace, and I see Everything of what I say, don't buy. Not because they should have listened to me, but I know they listened to somebody that ganked them on their money, ripped them off because they told them to buy some Amazon whatever kit with all of this trash stuff that you're never going to use, that has literally no value, that you can't do anything with, or some store that had them to buy the 55 to 200 kit zoom that's just basically it's still a kit lens. It's just a larger zoom range because they're like, oh, at your soccer game, you should get this for you. And it's just like, you got people wasting their money, and they probably needed to pay their mortgage early that month to save on the interest. But they wanted to make an investment. They said they wanted to do video. They go to the store and they get swindled by whoever that wants a bigger commission. And now all of a sudden they get so overwhelmed because they bought too much that they didn't know how to use, and they still don't know how to use, and they can't find the answers for. And you know what I'm saying? It's a waste of money. So now they just like, I'm just going to sell this stuff. I see it all the time on Amazon, on Facebook Marketplace. And because you always see like the crappy stuff that they give you in those Amazon kits. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I bought one with my first camera, the Canon T5i. But I'm just saying, like, I see so many people get caught up in buying a bunch of stuff. It's just like, learn to use what you got. Learn to use the basic camera and the kit lens, and then figure out what you need after that for a prime lens. Hold on to that. I at least hold a kit lens and a prime lens for at least a year before I buy anything else, because I don't know if I want to switch camera brands. I don't know whether that next lens is for me, and I don't know what the price is or the whatever. So I'm stacking some money to figure out what's what, and then something better may come around, and I may want to trash all of that and get the next thing. So it's like, chill on some of that buying a bunch of stuff that you see everybody recommending. It seems like a gotta have thing, because it's like, it's missing the major point of why you're getting started to begin with. And I love gear, don't get me wrong. Y'all know I got a gear problem, but it's just like, my ultimate passion is the fact that I want to see more people sharing their passion with the world, so that other people that need you can be helped, not so I can get more Amazon affiliate commissions. You know what I'm saying? Like, if any of y'all have hit me up in email or whatever, then you know this. I'm not saying this to look cute on the internet live. It's the same conversation. It's the exact same conversation. So I have completely ran over. I said 15, 20 minutes. I'm at an hour, 10 minutes. So, and y'all just let me rant on the soapbox for a minute. But far beyond the Canon R5. But that's something that's like really important to me, because it's so much that people have to offer. Like, say you're a father, you're a damn good father. You need to be showing and sharing that every chance you get. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's like, anytime I'm around my niece and nephews, auntie time. Auntie time consists of spending all my daggone money and loving every minute of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been afforded the opportunity to be an aunt to 21 nieces and nephews, and now I'm about to be a great auntie, which is insane. And my poor mother is beside herself that she don't have grandchildren for me, which I ain't even gonna say a yet, because it ain't happening. So, but it's just like, so I share that, because if somebody's just becoming an aunt or whatever, it's like, here's how you know what I'm saying, be the coolest auntie you freaking can be. And have like a situation like where my niece reached out to me wanting to surprise her mom for her birthday. And I didn't share this on Instagram or whatever, because it was like so in the moment, but it's just like completely made her day. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like having access to like literally the internet. You can have a global company tonight. You can have access to a global audience tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, so it's like, don't get sidetracked with the spec stuff so much. Like, really hone in and focus in. Like, you could be global tonight. You do not need to be on the stock market and be a public company. You can be a public company tonight and be live on Instagram tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's people like, well, if I had YouTube stories, then I could do what? If I had the YouTube community tab, then I could. No, you can be live on Instagram stories tonight, on a Facebook page tonight, YouTube tonight, and be global. It's just like, so let's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for real, get that. Be global tonight. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm gonna leave it at. So you did tell me, so you got to give your mama some grandbabies. No, I don't. She's 21. nieces and nephews. I am the youngest of 6. Every last one of them took that be fruitful and multiply and kept multiplying and kept multiplying and kept multiplying. She is fine. Okay, she is fine. She lost her mind today. And I saw her. She was like, oh, well, I was like, because I was telling her, I was like, well, I'm getting older, I'll be 32 this year. Not that that's old, but it's just like I'm beyond the point now where I'm at least where the doctors will listen to me. And I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to have children. And so I can get some things done to help deal with like the endometriosis and all that. And it's just like, well, no, we're going to take you to a sperm bank. And I'm like, my daddy was like, you say what now? And so she is getting beside herself for real. She out here. Y'all pray for her. Okay. For real. Just hold her down in the baptismal pool at the next Sunday service. That's where I'm saying. So, but that's that's where I'm going to leave it. Unless y'all got some questions real quick, I'll hold for another couple seconds, and then I'll wrap it up for tonight's live stream because I went over. And if you haven't already dropped a like on the video, be sure to do that. If you haven't done so already, if you enjoyed what you heard, what you saw. And if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for sticking around for all my nonsense and having a little fun tonight. You said that's a dope tea. Be global tonight. You sure right? Hey man, I'm about to do a Teespring up in here. So I might, but I might, because that's just the thing. It's just like, for real, like you could be global tonight. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like nobody's stopping you. There's no such thing as gatekeepers anymore. And you know what I'm saying? You want to get in fashion? Like you can have brands contacting you. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a one brand that I'm communicating with right now, which may be the first brand deal I actually bring to the channel for something. And I'm looking at it. And I'm looking at, we've worked with McDonald's, we've worked with whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just like little old Diana in St. Louis. Again, it's like they reached out to McDonald's and now they're reaching out to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but that's the thing. It's like whatever you want to do, whatever you want. It don't matter. Shoelaces. It's a market for it. It's people for it. It's people that are interested in it. It doesn't matter. If you make stuff, if you have a family, like you don't even have to have something wrong with you. You just have a story, which is your life, and that other people can connect with. So it's not about having something to sell. It's not about having something, you know what I'm saying, that's like such an amazing story. People are like, well, I didn't almost die from endometriosis and all these things. It's just like that just happened over the last couple of years. But your life experience is value. Don't discount and discredit your own story. It's like if your life was a movie and you had where you got the credits and you're supposed to be the star, you just made yourself look like, shoe cleaner number 3. Like you put yourself down, like it's not that important. And it's about everything else. You know what I'm saying? Around you, it's not about you. It is about you. So in the story of your life, if you are the main star, work the hell out of that role. Like, and show it and share it, because it's one thing, and I'm going to end on this, because if it's one thing that I would say has been important to me, if you follow me on Instagram, then you would have seen it, where I found on a memory card, it's like 10 years old. And it was right just like at the beginning of January. And I had no idea what was on it. I just knew it was an old memory card from the first digital camera my mom ever gave me. And I was like, let me see what's on this thing. And I literally found stuff that was 10 years old from when I first went to college, when I first moved out of town and stuff like that and was traveling a lot. And then I found 2 little like 360p video clips of my grandfather that died some years ago. And it just like, I lost it. It was like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock a.m. And I lost it. I was not expecting that. And I had just said like a couple days ago, like I missed the hell out of my grandfather. And like to see him and to hear his voice. And the video was, and the reason why I was recording it was because one of his great grandchildren great grandchildren. One of the, I don't even know now how many he would have, because my family's huge. And so it was, he had 8 kids and all his 8 kids had a lot of kids and all those kids having a lot of kids. So it's one of his great grandchildren, but he had just been born and he's a couple weeks old. And it's my little cousin getting a chance to meet his great grandfather for the first time. And I was able to capture like what my grandpa was saying and just couple second clips and him laughing and us in the room. And I lost it because it's just memories. And it's just like, I wish if, I was more focused on video, and I captured it. It was another video on there of me when I had taught myself to play the piano. I was just interested in learning, and I'd watched some YouTube videos, started teaching myself to play the piano. And so I was just like playing my first couple things or whatever from memory, because I learned by ear. And it was just like stuff that's so important to capture those memories is more than what any viral video could be. It's more than what any affiliate income could pay you. It's just like, now granted, money is in exchange for value, but like I said, to be able to capture, first time I met Ray Edwards, first time I quit, the drive home when I quit my job and I'm like about to poop on myself because I'm so nervous. The conversation with my friend Sarah, just like faith and fear can't live in the same body. All of those moments, the Grow with Video Live, me, who learned video from YouTube, getting to, as people would say, getting flued out, getting flown out though, to go and do one of the biggest and most important in online video events, Grow with Video Live, with Sean Cannell, Heather Torres, Omar, like the whole team, and I'm doing the video. You know what I'm saying? Like, to capture those moments. If they don't mean anything to anybody, it should mean something to you. So it's just like, you get a video that don't do that well. So, like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you really want what you're doing? That, you know what I'm saying? That you up at 8:20 at night, some of y'all later, maybe 9:20 or whatever, and you still watching this video. You know what I'm saying? Like it just has to be, it's got to be more than the tech. Like I said, I love video and stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's got to be more. It's got to be more. So, Daryl Lynn, good to see you, Sam. So I just wanted to say hello. Dang, I'm late. Yeah, you late. We've been rolling for a while. So, so he watching over. Yes, he is. And I love my grandpa so much. So much. But I've rolled way over, talked about way too many things. But I appreciate you and your time and your attention. The greatest thing I could ask for time that you don't get back. So I appreciate you and so much for you guys joining on the live stream. If you enjoyed what you liked, what you heard, what you saw, make sure you smash that like button. If you're watching this on the replay and you watched all the way through, thanks for being here. And again, thank you for your time and your attention. Over there, where it says up next, will be another video that YouTube thinks that you should watch if you want to keep rolling on this channel. But other than that, guys, live with passion, and I will see you on the next video here on Entree Women TV. Take care, love, peace, and hair grease, because it's February, y'all.